Krishna. I welcome you all to this Bhagavad Gita class this evening. We are reading from chapter 16 entitled The Divine and Demoniac Nature, and we are on the text 23. So, Mataji, you can take this book. शास्त्र विधिम उत्सृज्य वर्तते कामकारतः न स सिद्धिम अवाप्नोति न सुखम न पराम गतिम य शास्त्र विधिम उत्सृज्य वर्तते कामकारतः न स सिद्धिम अवाप्नोति न सुखम न पराम गतिम य शास्त्र विधिम उत्सृज्य वर्तते कामकारतः न स सिद्धिम अवाप्नोति न सुखम न पराम गतिम य शास्त्र विधिम उत्सृज्य वर्तते कामकारतः न स सिद्धिम अवाप्नोति न सुखम न पराम गतिम य शास्त्र विधिम उत्सृज्य वर्तते कामकारतः न स सिद्धिम अवाप्नोति न सुखम न पराम गतिम य शास्त्र विधिम उत्सृज्य वर्तते कामकारतः न स सिद्धिम अवाप्नोति न सुखम न पराम गतिम. माताजी, य शास्त्र विधिम उत्सृज्य वर्तते कामकारतः न स सिद्धिम अवाप्नोति न सुखम न param gatim. Word to word translation. Here, anyone who Shastra Vidim, the regulations of the scriptures, Utsrijya, giving up, Vartate, remains, Kamakarataha, acting whimsically in lust, Na, never, Sa, E, Siddhim, perfection, Avapnoti, achieves, Na, never, Sukham, happiness, Na, never, Param, the supreme, Gatim, the perfectional stage. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation. He who discards scriptural injunctions and acts according to his own whims attains neither perfection nor happiness nor the supreme destination. Purport. As described before, the Shastra Vidhi or the direction of the Shastra is given to the different castes and orders of human society. Everyone is expected to follow these rules and regulations. If one does not follow them and acts whimsically according to his lust, greed and desire, then he never will be perfect in his life. In other words, a man may theoretically know all these things, but if he does not apply them in his own life, then he is to be known as the lowest of mankind. In the human form of life, a living entity is expected to be sane and to follow the regulations given for elevating his life to the highest platform. But if he does not follow them, then he degrades himself. But even if he follows the rules and regulations and moral principles and ultimately does not come to the stage of understanding the Supreme Lord, then all his knowledge becomes spoiled. And even if he accepts the existence of God, if he does not engage himself in the service of the Lord, his attempts are spoiled. Therefore, one should gradually raise himself to the platform of Krishna consciousness and devotional service. It is then and there that he can attain the highest perfectional stage, not otherwise. The word Kamakarta is very significant. A person who knowingly violates the rules acts in lust. He knows that this is forbidden, but still he acts. This is called acting whimsically. He knows that this should be done, but he still does not do it. Therefore, he is called whimsical. Such persons are destined to be condemned by the Supreme Lord. Such persons cannot have the perfection which is meant for the human life. The human life is especially meant for purifying one's existence, and one who does not follow the rules and regulations cannot purify himself, nor can he attain the real stage of happiness. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Dhananjana Shalakaya Chakshuram Militam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Manobishtam Snapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam. Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yuta Padakamalam Sri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Praishnaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Desatarine Vansha Kalpatarubhyasya Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauratvishe Namaha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesa Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hare Priye. Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Krishna is an amazing teacher. Now here, if you see in this 23 and 24 verse, his teaching technique is entirely different. Like here, if you see, he's saying in 23 verse, one who follows, in 24 verse, he says, one who follows the regulations given in the scriptures, they will gradually be elevated. And in 23, he's saying, if one who discards scriptural injunctions, they can neither attain perfection nor happiness nor the supreme destination. That is actually teaching. This teaching is called instructing by contrasting. He's saying if you do this, this will be the result. Like if you follow the scriptures, you will attain perfection, you will be elevated. But if you do not follow the scriptures and you don't follow the rules and regulations given in scriptures, then you will not have any happiness nor peace, nor you will attain supreme destination. So he's saying, he's giving us a choice there, saying if you do this, this will be the result. Otherwise, if you act otherwise, it will be a different result. So actually Bhagavad Gita is a book of choices. You are given a choice, unlike the other religious scriptures where there are commandments like do this. Krishna also says do this, but several places he gives you a choice to act this. He will explain the consequences. If you act in a certain way, this is the consequence, and if you act in a different way, this is the result of it. So you are given the consequences and you are given a choice. So in that case, any sane man, what will he do? If you know the consequences, definitely any sane man will adopt the right choice. So similarly here, if you see in 23 and 24 verse, this is instructing by contrasting. This is a very excellent teaching technique. I'll give you other examples also where he says the similar thing. Please go to 3rd chapter 31 verse. Third chapter 31 verse. This verse says, those persons who execute their duties according to my injunctions and who follow this teaching faithfully without envy become free from bondage of fruitive actions. So it's saying one who follows my injunctions and do their duty, they will become free. Whereas if they act in a different way, like if you see in 332, but those who out of envy disregard these teachings and do not follow them regularly are to be considered bereft of all knowledge, and they are ruined in their endeavors for perfection. Here it's a similar, like he's saying, if you follow my instructions, you will achieve peace. If you don't follow my injunctions, you will be ruined. Also in 4th chapter 39 verse. 4th chapter 39 verse. A faithful man who is dedicated to transcendental knowledge and who subdues his senses is eligible to achieve such knowledge, and having achieved it, he quickly attains the supreme spiritual peace. So one who is dedicated to transcendental knowledge and who subdues his senses and achieves this knowledge will attain the supreme peace. Whereas ignorant and faithless persons who doubt the revealed scriptures, this is 40th verse, do not attain God consciousness, they fall down, and for them there is no happiness neither in this world nor in the next. If you see, he is contrasting. He say, this is, if you do this, this will be the result, and if you don't do this, this will be the result. Also, and it's also very clearly evident in 18.63, where he says, I have given you all the instructions. I have spoken all the confidential knowledge. Now it is your choice. This is choice. I have given you everything. I have spoken all the knowledge and have given all the instructions. It's your choice to how to act. Now isn't it wonderful? Like we know, if somebody commands us, do we like to follow? Sometimes we may follow, but we do, and if we follow also, it may be grudgingly. Even if we see our children, if you tell them do this, they will not be very happy. But if you tell them, see, if you do this, this will be the consequence, and if you don't do this, this will be the consequence, and then you give them a choice. So this is a very interesting teaching method by Krishna here. So Bhagavad Gita is actually a book of choice. He's giving a choice here. So anyone who is genuinely interested in spiritual life, when they hear this Bhagavad Gita, the authentic version of Bhagavad Gita, when they study or hear this, they will definitely follow the instructions. This is how the Krishna is taught us this Bhagavad Gita. Now there are like Bhagavad Gita is like a kalpavriksha. Like so many people have drawn so many things like management principles. Like we can also see the teaching methods here adopted by Krishna. And I will narrate you a story that is glorifying the 16th chapter. It's mentioned Gita Mahatma. It is narrated by Lord Shiva to Parvati. It's a very interesting story. There is in a state called Surat. It's now present in Gujarat. In this state, there is a king named Khadgabahu. And he had an elephant. He had in his possession a mad elephant. The elephant is completely in passion. And is full of anger and passion, a mad elephant. He had this elephant in his possession. And this elephant was always kept in chained. And one day it so happened that this elephant got let loose. It broke the chains and it broke free. And he has destroyed the shed and he ran into the streets. After running the streets, because it's a mad elephant, it all trampled all the people who came across in his path. He destroyed the trees, carts and the shops, buildings. Now the king came to know this. And then he went to that place where the elephant was creating havoc. And when he went, he saw that already so many people were trampled and people were running away from the elephant in fear. And then he saw a Brahmin who just took his bath and he was walking towards the elephant. So people tried to stop him, but he didn't pay any heed. He went straight to the elephant. And then when he approached the elephant became very peaceful. The elephant laid down and then this Brahmin had stroked he stroked the elephant and the elephant became completely pacified. Seeing this act of this Brahmin and this amazing act, the king and the people around were astounded. And the king approached him and the king asked him, "Now what austerities do you perform? What worship do you do for this amazing thing that happened?" So the Brahmin, and he said, "Please instruct me." So he took the Brahmin to his palace and he gave him charity, 100 gold coins. And then he asked him, "So please instruct me." So the Brahmin said, "I every day recite the slokas from the 16th chapter." Even while coming from the bath, he was reciting those slokas. The first three slokas of this chapter, which starts with Abhyam, fearlessness, he was reciting those. So he said, "I regularly recite the slokas from the 16th chapter." So the king also learned these slokas from the Brahmin and he recited for some time. Then one day he told his soldiers, "You free the elephant." They were all scared. They remembered the previous instant, what happened, the havoc created by the elephant. But still it's a king's order, so they removed the chains and king went. And as soon as the king went, the elephant became pacified. Then king also stroked the elephant and the elephant was completely peaceful. So the king understood the glories of this chapter in Bhagavad Gita. So he enthroned his son and he left the forest. And there he worshipped Krishna by regularly reciting Bhagavad Gita, especially the 16th chapter. And he soon attained the lotus feet of the Lord. So this is the glory of the 16th chapter. When we hear these glories, it inspires us to read and hear the Bhagavad Gita every day. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada is mentioning 4 important things. He says, first is one should know the rules and regulations given in scriptures. That's essential. One should know the rules and regulations. Secondly, one should not only know the rules but also follow them. Knowing the rules and following the rules is different. And thirdly, one should know the essence of these scriptures. Why is one following the rules and regulations? What is the destination? What is to be known? So what is to be known? One should know the Supreme Lord by following these rules and regulations and given in the scriptures. One should ultimately reach Him. That is the essence of all the scriptures. And the fourth one he's saying is, not only knowing the supreme destination, but you should engage yourself in that devotional service of that Lord. So the four things which is actually explained in this purport here. One should know the rules, one should follow the rules, one should know the essence of all the scriptures, and not only knowing the essence, but one should engage in the devotional service of the Lord. Now we'll see. He's saying here Sastra Vidim, that is scriptural injunction. What are the scriptural injunctions? They are given in Vedas. Why only Vedas and not other rules and regulations? Why we follow the Vedas? Because Vedas are given by the Supreme Lord. They are not given by the humans. Like other rules and regulations, they are not given by the human, which are given by the humans. The Vedas are given by they are descending, they are coming from the Supreme Lord in Guru Parampara. And they stood the test of time. They are never amended, like the modern scientific philosophies and theories, which today they propound something and then tomorrow they become obsolete. Like Darwin's theory example. Now nobody agrees with Darwin's theory. They condemn the Darwin's theory. There are several examples like that. But the Vedas, the injunctions given in the Vedas are like the lines written on the rock. They are never amended. They're not given by human and so they don't have the four defects. What are the four defects? The humans have imperfect senses, tendency to cheat and commit mistakes. This tendency to be illusioned. These are the four. So anything given by the humans will have these four defects. The Vedas are coming from the Lord, so they don't have these defects. So one should follow the scriptural injunctions that are given in the Vedas. For example, you know the cow dung is pure. It is given in the Vedas that cow dung is pure. But till recently nobody thought that, because cow dung is like a stool. It's a stool of cow. So everyone thought the stool is abominable. But afterwards, by the scientific research, they understood that cow dung has so many antiseptic properties and it is. So then they accepted it. But this was given in the Vedas long back. So there are several things like that. But we know in our Vedic society there was like Brahmastra. It's such a subtle weapon, nobody till today can understand that. And we have Kapila Bhagavan giving a vivid description of the growth of the fetus. It's mentioned in the 3rd canto. I mean, until the sonography has been invented, nobody knows how the embryo grows in the womb. So the Vedas have complete information. So one should follow the Vedas, not other scriptural. Not other rules and given by the human beings. What are the scriptural injunctions? Here Prabhupada mentions there are, for different castes and orders of human society, there are several scriptural injunctions. The scriptural injunctions are the prescribed duties. There are 4 spiritual orders and 4 social orders. So the prescribed duties of these orders and society is scriptural injunctions. There are various, there are 4 social orders like Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas and Sudras. And there are 4 spiritual orders: Brahmachari, Grihastha, Vanaprastha and Sannyasa. So Now every human being fits into one of this spiritual or social order. So that means everyone, in the scriptures, everyone is given their prescribed duties. So one should know the prescribed duty. Now there is a very nice story in Mahabharata. At the end of the exile, when the Pandavas were seated and discussing about their future plans, one Brahmin approaches them and he gives them, he tells them about a deer which has stolen his arani. Arani are those wooden blocks that produces fire. As Brahmins are involved in doing yajnas, sacrifices, they kept the arani with them every time. So the deer has stolen, so the Pandavas go in search of this deer. While searching for this deer, they become exhausted. They couldn't find the deer and they become very thirsty. So Nakul, he goes in search of the water. He wants to bring water for his elder brother Yudhishthir. Then he goes and then he finds a lake and is about to drink, and there is a crane there, and the crane says, "No, don't drink, you answer my questions." But then Nakul, he doesn't pay heed to the advice of crane. He drinks and he falls down there dead. Then comes Sahadev, and then is followed by Bhim and Arjun. Everybody, they don't pay any heed to the advice of the crane there. Finally Yudhishthir comes in search, and then he sees all his brothers there lying down, and then again the crane again tells him. So finally the Yudhishthir will say that he will answer his questions, and the Yaksha asks that is the crane in the form of Yaksha is in the form of crane, and when he asks 18 questions, and one of the question is who is considered to be the most learned, and then Yudhishthira answers who knows his prescribed duties. So one who knows his prescribed duties is considered to be the most learned, and then the next question is one who is ignorant, who asks who is ignorant, who says who does not know his prescribed duties. The scriptural injunctions gives us the prescribed duties. Now what are the prescribed duties for a Brahmana? We'll just briefly discuss that. For Brahmana, the prescribed duties are 6. Studying the scriptures and teaching the scriptures. Worshipping the deities and teaching how to worship. And giving charity and taking charity. These are 6 things of the Brahmana. His occupation, the 6 essential occupations is this Brahmana. And what about the Kshatriya? Kshatriya is supposed to give protection, charity, and being devoted to the Brahmins. And Vaishya is Krishi Go Rakshana, that is protection of grains and cow protection. And he is supposed to be following the other 2 castes, Brahmanas and the Kshatriyas. And the Shudras, they are thank you. They are in the service of the other castes, and they are supposed to be clean and they are to be truthful. They are supposed to be very clean and truthful, honest. These are the qualifications of the Sudra. And we have other spiritual orders. The Brahmacharis, they are in the jurisdiction of the Guru. They are in the ashram, and they should be completely under control of the Guru. Up to 25 years of age, they are supposed to be under the guidance of the Guru, and they have to obey the rules and regulations of that ashram. They have to go and beg alms, and unless the Guru gives them the food, they cannot eat. If the Guru does not give them the food, they have to fast. So that is the life of Brahmachari. And Grihasthas is charity, sense control. One of the main the qualification is sense control. They should have sense control, because a Grihastha is in his he can do sense gratification, so that he has to do sense control. He has the facility to sense gratification. and charity, and for he has to maintain other ashrams. And for vanaprastha, it is austerities. He is not supposed to cook. He has to follow austerities. And then sannyasa, it's fearlessness. He has to be completely under the protection of the Supreme Lord. He has to have complete faith, unless one cannot adopt the sannyas order. So these are those prescribed duties for those spiritual orders and social orders. So one should know the prescribed duties and act. Now, what happens if you follow these scriptural injunctions and act according to your prescribed duties? One is you will become purified. While engaged in the prescribed duties, you will become purified. And following these scriptural rules and regulations will help you to become regulated in your life, to become disciplined. So Prabhupada in the 3rd chapter, in 34 verse, he says in the purport that overindulgence in sense gratification will lead you to material engagement. So you will, by following the rules and regulations, you will not overindulge in sense gratification. This is main. You will get disciplined and you will have a regulated life. Secondly, you will raise to the mode of goodness. Now, mode of goodness is necessary for understanding the transcendence. One can understand what is beyond the modes only when they rise to the mode of goodness. So the rules and regulations given in scriptures will elevate you to sattvic level. Now these rules and regulations, so these have to be followed. Now there are other also rules and regulations, like for women, she has to be very chaste. A woman has to follow the vows of her husband. She has to accept the vows of her husband and have to take the vows as her own vows, and she has to serve her husband and also the husband's relatives and friends. This is important. Then this woman is considered chaste, and then according to the scriptures, the woman has to give protection. Now also, because there is no protection now, and not many people are following these scriptural injunctions, what happens now? There is so much of unwanted progeny. Now one of the reasons Arjuna gives for not to fight is unwanted progeny. He says when the men in the battle, when all the men die, the women are unprotected, and then when the women are unprotected, there will be a unwanted progeny. And unwanted progeny is Varna Shankara. So now you see in the society, present day society, the society has been so degraded, and the studies have shown that most of the criminals have no father in their house. The studies have shown this. So it's so important that women should be protected. And also there are so many, like we have in Isopnishad, Isavashya principle. Isavashya principle, the first mantra is, what's the first mantra in the Isavashya? No? Yeah, the first mantra says that Ishavasya idam sarvam yatkinchat jagatya jagat tena taktena bunjita magrida kasyasid dhanam. So that means that everything inanimate and animate in this world is controlled and owned by the Supreme Lord. And we should know our quota and not think of other things, knowing well to whom it belongs to. So this is the Ishavasya principle. And one who knows this Ishavasya principle do not try to covet others' property. Now there are three major problems in the modern society: the sexual assault, corruption, and physical violence. Now if somebody who follows this Ishavasya principle, there will not be any corruption and so much of sexual assault. Now, according to scriptural injunctions, One should consider, except one's wife, all other women as his mother. And one, if you follow this principle, there will not be any sexual assault or unwanted progeny in the society. Now, because of not following the scriptural injunctions, we have the society has become so degraded. In the previous verses, Krishna speaks that this lust, pride, the lust, greed and anger, these are the main gateways for the hell. And such people who indulge in this will be cast into demonic species, the lower species. They will be cast into hell. Now you know, in the present day society, we are really surrounded by the hellish thing. We don't need to go into the hellish planets. We are just surrounded by that. There's no safety anywhere when you go out. You are no longer very confident that you will return safely. So all these are because of not following the scriptural injunctions. For devotees, what are the scriptural injunctions? Srila Prabhupada has given us very nicely the morning program, chanting of prescribed rounds, then there is darshanarti, then there is Bhagavatam, then accepting the prasad, the food offered to the Lord, and then we have evening Bhagavad Gita class. For the inmates, then there is Krishna book reading, and for the grihasthas there is deity worship. So if you adopt this lifestyle, you will the main scriptural injunction given by Rupa Goswami is always to remember Krishna and never forget. So when you follow this, you will always remember Krishna. This is for devotees, this is the scriptural injunctions. Now secondly, not only knowing the scriptural injunctions, but one should follow them. This is the second thing. Now in the scriptures there are several examples like Ravana, Hiranyakasipu, Kamsa. They are so well versed in the scriptures, but they didn't follow. They could not follow. Now it's really astounding if you read the 10th canto, so 4th chapter. Kamsa speaking to Devaki and Vasudev. Now when after Krishna's birth, when Vasudev goes and exchanges the babies and he brings back the girl child, now the Kamsa is informed about the birth of this child. He immediately comes and he takes, in spite of Devaki's pleas, he takes the child into his arms and he throws he wants to bang into the rock. But immediately the girl slips and he goes above the Kamsa's, and then she will manifest into 8-formed Durga. She tells him, you have failed in your, already the person who is going to kill you has already taken birth. Now seeing, usually these demons are Durga's worshippers. Now when Kamsa understood that Devaki have given birth to a Durga Devi, then immediately he became fearful. Saying, oh, Devaki must have some transcendental qualities. So immediately he goes and he begs forgiveness of Devaki and Vasudev. There is the conversation of Kamsa is wonderful. He says, now don't lament, your children have died because of their misfortune. I am not responsible. Somebody who is born will definitely die. You should not lament. And then he gives an example of the pot. He says this pot and dolls and other things that is developed from the earth, that are manufactured from the earth, they are created, then they break and they are annihilated. Similarly, the body, he says, body is different from the soul. The body is created, it is there for some time and is annihilated. But the spiritual soul will remain like the earth which remains even after the destruction of the products from the earth. So he talks so much of philosophy there. He says everything is under the supreme providence. Like once people meet and people go into different destinations. So you please don't worry and forgive me, he says. So you know here Kamsa is well versed in the scriptures. But still, though he knows all this, when he heard that they will be killed by the earth eighth pregnancy of the eighth child born to Devaki, what happened? He immediately captured and put them into prison. So somebody might know the scriptures, but they may not act according to the scriptures. Now in Arjuna asks in 3rd chapter 37 verse, he says why somebody after knowing the scriptural injunctions still they act, still they commit sinful acts as if forced. And Krishna answers in the next verse, it is by lust only. It's because of the lust they cannot stop themselves. And Baldavidya Bhushan gives us a very, very wonderful remedy for this. He says, suppose somebody knows the scriptural injunctions, still not able to avoid acting sinfully, then they should be in the association of saintly persons. This is the remedy. You know the scriptural injunctions, still you are acting sinfully. The only cure is to be in the association of saintly persons. So by taking the guidance of these saintly persons and being in their association, you can overcome this weakness. Also, if you see the Hiranyakasipu after death of the Hiranyaksha, his brother, when the sons of Hiranyaksha were lamenting, his wife Rishabhanu and his mother Diti was devastated when Hiranyaksha was killed by the Vishnu in the form of boar. So they were all lamenting. Hiranyakasipu speaks wonderfully there. He gives an example of, he quotes an example of this Yamaraj giving instructions, and also speaks of 2 Kulinga birds. There he says the travelers who are traveling, they will come to a restaurant or a travel inn. They take they rest for some time and they again continue with their destinations. Similarly, the living entities, they come together and then again by their own actions they depart to their destination. So do not lament, he says. Now nobody should lament, because if the body has left if the soul has left the body, nobody should lament, he says. And he also says that because if there is some disturbance in the water, the trees on the bank, when they are reflected in the water, they appear to be moving. And even if due to some mental derangement, if our eyes may sometimes move, because of our eyes movement, we may feel that land is moving. So because of some mental derangement, sometimes we have that illusion. Now he says that because similarly the body is also the mind is agitated by the material modes of nature, and similarly he feels that the body is changing. So but it is the supreme soul, the soul is always there. It's just because of one's conception. He says this. And he gives the example of Yamadharmaraj, how he pacified the queens of Suyagna. There is a king who was killed in the battlefield, and the queens were lamenting at the body of the Suyagna. And then the time approaches for the cremation, but the queens would not leave. They says, who is going to protect us? There is no protector now. You were protecting the citizens and you are protecting us, but now since you are not there, who will give us protection? We will also follow you in your footsteps. They say we will also come to you. Then seeing this, Yamadharmaraj in the disguise of a boy, he comes there and he says, I was in the forest, I was a child, and I was also weak, but no ferocious animals killed me. He says, how we were protected in the womb, who protected us? The Supreme Lord. Similarly, we will be given protection at all circumstances. Now do not lament, and gives the example of the 2 Kulinga birds. Once a hunter, he traps the female Kulinga bird, he captures. And the male Kulinga bird, seeing this, will be completely devastated, and he keeps on lamenting. He says, now who is going to take care of the baby birds? They are waiting in the nest for the mother to return and feed them. He keeps on lamenting, and the hunter, seeing the male bird is unaware and he captures this male bird also. Yama Dharmaraj quotes this example and he says, now the king has already left. Actually, you have never known the king. The body is still here, and the person inside this body, you never knew him actually. You never knew this actual spirit soul here. And if you will keep lamenting, you will also be captured by the death, and you will miss the purpose of the life. Says everyone who is born is destined to die, and you are seeing hundreds and thousands of people dying, and you know you are going to die, but still if you are lamenting like this, you will miss the actual purpose of the life. The human purpose of life is to know the Supreme Lord, so you will miss. So this is spoken by Yama Dharmaraj, and he quotes these two examples and he pacifies the wife of Hiranyaksha and his mother. Now you know this is something amazing. If you read that chapter, you will see how Hiranyakasipu, who knows so much of scriptural injunctions, still was acting in so much sinful way. He was killing his own son. He tortured Prahlad Maharaj. So you will be thinking, how is this possible? Somebody knows the scriptural injunctions. So that is why Srila Prabhupada writes here, it is important to know the scriptural injunctions, and more important is to follow these scriptural injunctions in your life. So you have several examples like Ravana. Ravana was being told by Maricha and by Mandodari also, do not abduct Sita. But he was carried away by his lust, and though he knows everything, he said nothing, everything is in the supreme providence. Even Dhritarashtra we know. Dhritarashtra has been advised by Vidura several times. Say that, he told, you send away this son of yours, this Duryodhana is evil. You should have immediately actually killed him when he was born. But you didn't do that. Now simply, you just have to send him away. And Dhritarashtra didn't pay any heed. He says, whatever will happen, will happen. Oh yes, Dhritarashtra wants to be king. He didn't want to. He was so greedy. He didn't want to leave the position of the emperor there. So we know all this. So all the remedy is always to be associated in the saintly persons, like this, which was given in 3.37. Now the third thing is, one should not only know the scriptural injunctions, follow them, but what is the essence of the scriptural injunctions? So someone may miss this. So what is the injunctions? The essence of the scriptural injunction is to know the Supreme Lord. Krishna says, Vedascha sarvair aham eva vedya. I am the compiler of the Vedas, and by this Vedas I am the person to be known. If you miss this, then what is the use of knowing the scriptural injunctions? And like in first canto, second chapter, it is said, the purpose of all the engagement in all the prescribed duties is to please the Supreme Lord. Samsiddhir Haritoshanam. It is first canto, second chapter, 13 verse. They said it is the purpose of the supreme destination of the occupation, one who is engaged in the occupational duties is to please the Supreme Lord. Samsiddhir Haritoshanam. And also in the 8th verse it says, Dharma swanustisa pumsa isvakshenu katasaya na utpadye yatiratim srama evi kevalam. If somebody is engaged in occupational duties and these occupational duties does not evoke in him the attraction for the message of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then it is srama evahi kevalam, this waste of labor. So mainly when you are engaged in prescribed duties, the main purpose is actually to understand the Supreme Lord. That is given in the third point. The fourth point is, Krishna says that not only you have to know the Supreme Lord, but you should engage in his devotional service. Now this is the ultimate. Now as devotees, we have been given all the opportunities and facilities, and everything is there. So if we miss this chance, then again it's like our knowledge is spoiled. He tells here all his attempts are spoiled. So we know the scriptures, we know who is Supreme Personality of Godhead, and we should engage. And now, in spite of knowing all this, if we miss, then everything is ruined. This is the last point. So as devotees, we should be very careful. As actually it is said, somebody who is in knowledge, if they commit mistakes, the punishment is higher than those who engage in sinful activities, or ignorant people. So we have more responsibility. The punishment given to a person who is will be greater. Person who is in higher knowledge will be greater than a person who may do some mistakes in ignorance. So when we are given all these facilities, we have to be very careful not to miss this opportunity. We have to go reach our supreme destination, that is being engaged in the loving devotional service of the Lord. Thank you. Any comments or questions?
Thank you for a very comprehensive class. It's really nice. This Ishabasha principle seems to cover a lot of the points that we were making. Without the Ishabasha principle, then you can't go on to the other points. And you become a full victim to the 3 gates of hell, which we just were talking about. So you have given very nice descriptions of the Varnashram Dharma, which was discussed in the purports, the 2 previous purports, and related it very nicely to what should be the purpose, which is very nice, because then we come out with a solution to the problem. Thank you very much. I'm convinced. I don't have any questions. Anyone else?